All right, let's get started. This is my presentation for 4Cs, the computer connection. We'll share this across several spectrums. Like I said, one of the things that's really interested me in the past 2 years, especially as I've moved from different university structures. I've taught at the four-year university. I taught Georgia Southern University for a while. And now I'm teaching at in the technical system, the 2-year university. These are divergent student populations. There are so many different needs and capabilities in these different populations. One of the most important ones is ease of access. And one of the problems that I continually encounter is a difficulty not just in accessing different software types because of a lack of just straight internet access, but also a kind of strange misunderstanding of how these systems work. And this is a very wide spectrum of problems. It doesn't necessarily just have to be that they don't understand how the system works. Maybe their system requirements aren't good enough in order to participate. But I think that the way we design our content management systems are flawed in some ways that might seem, how do I put this? They're flawed in ways that aren't immediately obvious. And the way that has really come forward for me is the idea, and I've heard it several times at this conference, and every time I hear it, I'm like, there it is. It's the idea of narration in a course, the narrative of the course. And I can tell from personal experiences, I've adopted several purely online courses that take place wholly in learning management systems. And the two that I've worked with are Angel and Blackboard. As far as I'm concerned, Angel has been the one that works the best for me so far. But Blackboard was a bit of a nightmare, no offense to anyone out there who loves Blackboard. But the issue is that we set up these very rigid course structures that unfold in steps at a time. And the way that I adopted it for the technical system, and it's a very talented instructor that I actually adopted the system from, she had it staggered so that every week a new folder would open up. It'd be week 1, week 2, week 3. And as you walk through that course, you followed the instructions and the logical steps and how it would unfold. Now, I understand completely why she did that. And in fact, it made it very easy for me as an instructor to keep up with the types of needs that my students had, and it helped me keep up with what the students were doing. But what it also did, and I think this is the problem with narration, it completely destroyed my role in that class. I felt like I was teaching a robo course. Instead of having a presence in that course, what I was actually doing was simply grading assignments that were generated to preset criteria. It's a very strange sensation the first time you actually work with it. That it's like the students are responding to some type of other entity. And it's surreal to see it because I'm used to having that face-to-face environment and directing my students, and this is something that's missing from this attitude that we have in these online courses. Variant student populations, and I've had a lot of experience with this because I've taught both at the university level and the technical level, your students are going to differ wildly from class to class. Different technologies will fall apart for them for reasons wholly unrelated. Just to actually give you an example, the primary content management system that I use for my course is Google Buzz, and that's what I'm going to show you how to use today. Just last week, I always have this demo assignment that as I'm showing students how to create their Gmail account to get into the Gmail suite, they always meet in a lab, and I walk them through the creation process on how to get into that technology. 10 students were left, and they were all locked out of the system. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life. And if anybody out there working with Google is listening to this, please send me an email because I want to have a conversation with you about what happened. It took me forever to figure out what happened. The simple error message was, we're sorry, Google cannot create an account for you at this time. What happened? Google's server identified my school and my lab at that moment and identified us as spammers. because we had created about 25 email addresses from the same location. How on earth do you allow for that problem? But you know what's strange? In my online courses, I never had that issue because they were all creating the account from separate locations. And what's interesting about this is your technologies are going to be unstable always. You have to retain a kind of responsive identity as an instructor. It's not enough to simply hold this rigid kind of authoritarian, disconnected identity that's created with your classrooms. To be fair, those who use that structure in their classes, it's completely understandable because we're so not used to the way that we teach online, and we had to create this kind of infallible structure that always works the same way every time. But we're missing a key component to the way our classes should operate. And it's difficult, but there are ways to kind of encode a more natural response time in your classes. And like I've said, even though Google Buzz has its flaws, I believe Buzz presents us with an opportunity to have a more responsive course structure. So here's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to actually click into Buzz, and I'm not going to worry about the process that I used in order to bring them into the suite. I've got to write a whole other paper about that. I've got to publish some type of instructions because going through the system multiple times, it can be a huge nightmare. But I'm going into the Buzz suite now, and I'm sorry those of you on the video can't see this. I'll try to narrate it as best as I can. Buzz gives us a Twitter-like environment with which to operate. And you'll notice I try to make my online persona as non-threatening as I can. I have my avatar as a Lego man in a spacesuit. And I actually try to be very lighthearted with the students. And this is actually the course that I am running right now for my technical students. And what you can see is as I create posts, I give general instructions. Right here, this was an attendance discussion, and none of these are really worth any real credit, so I don't think I'm violating anything ethical here. This really is just test runs for the technology, nothing high cost. But here we have the comments where the discussion is developing organically. They're responding to each other. And as I go down, that's generally the way that I structured this course. I'll give some very general instructions, and then they follow up with some type of discussion. This is a companion management system. I'm using both Angel and Buzz. Angel is a more formal space. Buzz is a social space where we discuss class material. Oftentimes I will have them submit drafts here. And since the comment structure is as organic as it is, it's friendly for peer review, and I structure the peer review using this technology. But my favorite innovation that I've introduced so far in this class has been my YouTube lectures. What I do is I wear a headset, I stare into my webcam, and I explain concepts from the textbook in a fluid video format that they can access. And this is what makes this work as a companion management system. They see my lecture organically in the Buzz system. They can then comment beneath it and discuss it. All of these comments are then categorized and kept with the post. It's a little bit chaotic, but like I said, I think one of the main things that I would love to see online courses adopt as we move forward is one, multiple content management systems that have differing layers of formality and non-formality so that you can kind of encode a social structure into your course, but also have a space where the students know what they're doing is an assignment and it's formal. I think kind of having those different stakes encoded into your class is really important. I love the way that you can mix media using this format, and I can also adopt different voices with them depending on which actual environment they're experimenting with. Just a couple of more things. What really interested me in Buzz, this is simply like the course lobby. It's tied with their Gmail account. This is the communication sphere. The thing that my students love, and let me tell you, for the technical school student, this is a deal breaker. They absolutely love this feature, is Google Documents. How many of you have actually used Google Documents before? Okay, Documents, they will just absolutely lavish praise on you just for introducing them to this. Google Documents is Google's own word processor. And I know we throw around this buzzword quite a bit. It's in the cloud. As I'm showing you here, as I click on Documents, and for those of you who are watching this video, if you click Documents up above in your Google Suite, you can actually see this as well. If you go to Documents and just click Create New, it takes you to an online word processor. This has most of the functionality of Microsoft Word. It is compatible with Microsoft Word, but the thing that makes it beautiful is the fact that it auto-saves as you type. It auto-saves your content so that students will not lose it. You can systematically eliminate the need for students to keep thumb drives all the time because they know that this composition space is rather reliable. And I always tell students, it seems really safe, but it is a good idea to back up your files. But another reason that my students love this so much is that it's a word processing suite that is free of cost. Now, the thing that makes Google Buzz a radically unique and useful content management system is that you have these functions tied to it. Documents is included right alongside Buzz so that they can write in this public sphere. They can share these documents just by clicking this button or by cutting and pasting it into the Buzz format. They can write peer reviews, and everything is contained in one very convenient space. I don't have this particular software component customized, but if you want to teach research skills, you even have Google Reader that includes RSS feeds and various other components that students can follow current events. They can share current events, and it all connects together. It is a beautiful place to teach. It is free, it's open, and it's public. That being said, though, it's not without its problems. The main problems that I've found with Google, first and foremost, getting them into the system is a little bit of a nightmare just because of the weird lockdown function that it has as it responds to potential spam. That's understandable. The other problem, though, that I've seen, and I would love to get some input from this if I could when I turn it over to questions, is that students have an odd reaction to very complex virtual spaces. That makes it difficult because, as I've said before, I love to try to find some type of balance between formal structures and informal structures. But when you mix the Google Suite and all the software that you have there with a more formal space like Blackboard or Angel, students have a tendency to react negatively to that. They don't want a lot of spaces that they have to negotiate to. Ideally, the thing that I would like to do is have them operating in 3 different virtual spaces. A content management system, preferably for me, a MyLab product from Pearson, the Google Suites, which would be a social space, and then a class blog where all announcements are kept neat and tidy. I've done that before, it worked beautifully, but my students never stopped belly aching about it. Now, I can't quite demonstrate for you how this system works so well in regard to the need for an instructor response that is organic to different student needs. But I can say this, if you adopt a minimalistic course structure, you have several assignments that have complex requirements, and you allow those assignments to grow organically across multiple environments where they can kind of experiment with different voice structures. If you have a derailment, you can respond much better than if you've designed a course that completely maps out every step of the process. When you use variant course management systems like Buzz and Angel alongside one another, if one crashes, you can rely on the other one. It's a backup for you. And it actually works pretty well. I've had plenty of students who have so much trouble accessing one of the course management systems. and that student comes to rely on the other